Our first order of business is the annual spring cleanup, which we have set for May 15th. David, I believe you told us that the AmeriCorps people were otherwise engaged?
No, they're coming. They're definitely
okay.
coming.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So again, the way they work is they work during the week. And so a weekend activity, it's volunteer basis. And so the Wellfleet House supervisor is saying, he's suggesting that somewhere between 2 and 10 people could show up, which is sort of what they give us usually. I tried to sweeten the pot by reminding them that a previous Wellfleet House supervisor used the cleanup day as an opportunity to do a training with power tools. And so that did intrigue them. And you know how power tools are. They might get more people to show up if they get to use power tools. So anyway, short answer is between 2 and 10 AmeriCorps are coming.
Okay, good. So if we get a good turnout, are we going to attempt to go over to Duck Creek? Or do you think our work there is done?
I think
I
we
would-
should just stay where we are. It's such a big area to cover.
Yeah. So stay in Oakdale and Pleasant Hill.
And there are a lot of widowmakers I've noticed.
Well, good,
You
they'll
know.
be happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Diddy is possibly a no this time. He just had foot surgery.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's not supposed to do much with that foot for quite a long time.
Yeah. So we may be not able to deal with those widowmakers. I do have a battery operated kind of like a limb pruner. You know, it's extendable. I don't think it'll do, huge things, but certainly I think it could do like 6-inch diameter, something like that. So I'll bring that. Maybe we can get some done with that.
We might have to hire somebody to do some of this because they're pretty high up and they're pretty big.
Okay, we'll do an assessment.
So there's a lot to deal with in some of the areas. And I'm still concerned about that tree by Christopher's Stone. It's never been, remember, someone volunteered to take care of it because they had a lift, but it's never been done.
Okay, we'll look at that too. So Bonnie, will you do your usual getting
The
it
church-
into church bulletin?
And the chamber too.
Okay, good. And I'll take care of getting it in the trying to get it in anyways, the Banner and the Independent and the Cape Codder.
Okay, that's good.
Nancy, can I say something?
Of course.
I apologize. I can't find my raise hand icon for some reason today, so I can't raise my hand. Anyway, I have a battery powered chainsaw, which I'll bring as well. And I'm comfortable, if you're comfortable, because I didn't actually ask your permission. If the AmeriCorps want to deal with some of those widowmakers and things like that, are we comfortable letting them do that? Widowmakers meaning trees that are going to fall down.
No, they're branches that have broken and they're
Okay.
hung up in the trees.
Okay, all right, okay. But in any case, are you all comfortable with the AmeriCorps staff using the day also as a training day to cut limbs with power tools?
Well, if they have somebody supervising them,
Yeah, it would be a supervisor doing the training and supervising.
right?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you. And I'll bring bottled water as usual and other tools, although AmeriCorps usually is pretty good at bringing tools, but community volunteers typically just show up with their gloves. So I'll bring wheelbarrows and rakes and bow saws and things like that.
Okay. And I'll round up what I can. And then should we add in our notices that we're asking people to wear masks and try to distance if we're congregated?
Yeah, I know that the last time people did wear masks.
Yeah.
But I can add something if you would like me to.
It's probably a good thing. That way we're covered. And also, if people show up and don't want to wear masks, we haven't even discussed that, but I think as a town activity, we have to follow the town guidelines.
Well, if somebody's walking around by themselves with a garbage bag picking up old flowers and stuff, they don't need to be wearing a mask. But if people are working together, they do.
Right. I think that's a good idea. Hi, Richard. Just
Nancy said, oh, jeez, and my cats are raising hell.
okay.
Right.
So are we good on that topic?
I guess so. Oh, David, are you going to do anything about water?
I think we may have lost David again.
David, oh no. Well,
David
what
did,
is-
David did say he was going to bring water.
oh, we did?
Yes, he did.
Good. Thank you. Okay, so we're done with that.
Right, but all right, David's back now.
But he's muted.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we good on, and then are we gonna pick a rain date? That would be the following Saturday, May 22nd? No?
No, I think we have our regular protocol, which is sun or drizzle.
Right,
Yeah.
And we've been
I
lucky
agree.
so far, or we've had drizzle.
yeah,
Right. And we've still gotten the work done.
Yeah.
okay, good. Okay, next topic, considerations and options for green burials, specific to our Wellfleet cemeteries, as opposed to, when we had that joint meeting with the other towns. One thing that we did learn from that presentation from Green Burials, Massachusetts was, some cemeteries have a separate section, some is a hybrid. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I was thinking about, as far as when we've been out there last year, whenever we had Dave LaJoy flag the boundaries for us, we did identify a section that might be okay because it wasn't that steep and all that. But
Right.
I mean, it just seems like it would take an awful lot of money to clear that. So, and I think maybe because the newly cleared section is still, we only have about 6 or 8 sites that have been bought. Do we want to think about, using that section as a hybrid? Or designating a section of it?
I don't know. That's really the only area that I'm selling now. And I don't know.
And
Well,
clearing, I guess we would need to know what it would cost to clear, but that's double the work trying to keep a cleared section from
With the
revegetation.
green, we wouldn't clear the whole thing if it was green burial, right?
It's pretty treed.
Yeah. I'd have to go look at it again.
Yeah.
I would vote for getting an estimate on, deciding what section or what area we want to try and use if we use a separate area, and then get some estimates on what it would cost to clear that partially. Again, Bonnie, not a clear cut. I mean, even
Right.
less than what we did in the new DEF section, and just
Right.
see what the cost is.
Right. Yeah. And one thing is, we can't clear a small section and then down the line you need more space, and you can't be driving an excavator over grave sites.
Right.
Good point.
So we'll just have to look when we're out there and see. I know one section was kind of promising for future expansion, but there was another section where it was really very steep.
Very steep.
So it should be left alone, I guess. Yeah, and from that presentation by the gentleman in New Jersey, it looked like he was, and from Barry at Cape Cod Memorials, it seemed like when they did green burials, all of them were dug by hand.
Yes.
I don't know about the feasibility of that.
Who would do it?
Right, it'll cost a fortune, probably. But I suppose that would be maybe between the family and the whoever they find to do the excavation.
Right. Have we gotten feedback from John Fougere?
The only thing he's said in the past is, like, his concern was, you bury somebody and then
Somebody
5
wants to,
years later, the spouse wants to be buried next to them, and doing an excavation next to, a burial where there is no vault.
right.
Well,
There'd have to be more space or something, I guess. I don't really know, because somehow you've got to mark it too, or we would never know where it was.
Right. So we would still want to have corner markers in there, I guess.
so the last conversation I had with John Fougere about this, it was pre-COVID, and I was going to set up a meeting with the Provincetown DPW because, again, for people that don't know, in Provincetown, the DPW does all of the excavating of graves. And so that's their responsibility. And at that point, the DPW and the Provincetown Cemetery Commission had worked out a pretty extensive green burial protocol. And then they had some consultants come in and said, no, your soil's too sandy, so you can't do that. And so they revised their green burial protocol to say that there has to be a vault now in Provincetown. But what they're going to do is they're going to upend it so that the opening of the vault is down. And so they would still be
How
able,
do you get the body in it?
well, they would put the body, they dig the hole, they would put the body in it, and then they would turn the vault upside down without the lid and lay it in there so that the bottom serves as the lid. And the point of the green burial would then be that the coffin would have contact with the soil. And so it would still deteriorate and decompose.
If
And
there
so-
is a coffin, what if it's just a shroud?
Well, then same thing. It would decompose quicker. But I guess they decided, well, we want to have green burials somewhere on the continuum, and this is our compromise because of that. I heard people at our, whatever it was, January or February. When was our January, February green burial conversation recently, that some people said, well, maybe by the time you get to Wellfleet, the soil is more soil and less sand. So I think that's still out in terms of how we're going to deal with that. And I brought that up only to say that if in fact there are still vaults, then Jean Fougere
Wouldn't
might
have
be
any
more
trouble.
willing to- Yeah, and again, we were going to meet, and John was happy to meet with the Provincetown DPW to talk to them. And based on that conversation, he might or may not be willing to be involved in this kind of activity. But that sort of was put on hold. That's my point. So I haven't talked with John since last December, a year ago. Yeah, last December, December. Sorry, that was long-winded.
So that kind of, it solves Provincetown's immediate problem, but it's kind of anti-green burial. The whole point of green burial is you're not shrouded in concrete.
Yeah, well, it's just one other point on that continuum of whatever green burials could be.
Right.
Because that also goes to the point of some people, we can make that decision. I mean, we know that before a certain period, corner markers weren't required or they weren't included in the cost of a plot. And so we still see a number of plots out there that have headstones, but there are no corner markers because they either chose or didn't want to pay for corner markers. So it could be that we will have green burial plots without corner markers either, if we decide that.
I think it's stupid to put a vault on top of a person. To me, that's not a green burial.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I guess we just continue to visit this topic.
I'm afraid so. I'm willing to take the lead again, and at our next meeting, and again, I apologize for not including this as an attachment, but again, in 2019, I did create a draft, if you remember, adding green burial protocols and policies and procedures to our existing cemetery rules and regulations. And I know, Bonnie, you and Nancy have it, but it's been so long that we can, maybe at a future meeting, we can revisit that and see if that can give us some direction.
Okay.
Especially if we send it.
Okay, I will resend it.
Where it is.
And then would we still have our usual sizes of 5 by 10, 10 by 10, all that?
I don't see why not. That's
Right.
fine with me.
Okay, so any more discussion on that topic?
So can that be on the next meeting agenda? Will we revisit it again?
Yep.
Good. And I will contact John Fougere, because I know we're going to be talking to him about other things too, and just, see if he's willing to, again, try and have a conversation at a safe distance with the P-Town DPW.
Yeah, and when we have our cleanup, we could go look at that land and decide potentially what we want. And at that point, then I can ask for some estimates for doing some clearing.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds good. All right, on to the next. I would like to consider somebody who bought a plot in the newly cleared section had said, oh gosh, it looks so barren, which of course it does, except for the few remaining trees. So I had a thought that maybe we could try landscaping like a quote model plot to let people, potential, buyers envision what it could look like,
How about if we, Paul Souza's got nobody here. And how about if we just landscape his lot, because then there's already a stone there too.
That's a good idea. We would have to get permission from the friends of his who buried him.
Yeah, I could do that.
I don't think, yeah.
They're
Or,
not gonna mind if we do something nice.
right. I was thinking of a 10 by 10, because that way you can put, some shrubs in there, some bulbs. I mean, it doesn't mean, we can't do Paul's. We could maybe do both, but then I was thinking of maybe asking for, some contributions from the Arbor Committee, something like that, if they have,
Well, you landscape it that much, we won't be able to have a burial there. Ever.
True.
I don't know about that. And shrubs can be dicey. You see how many we've had to chop down because they've totally overgrown.
Right, they'd have to be miniatures or something like that. And then, I mean, we could do bulbs and all that, but they, bulbs are so seasonal that, if you go out in the fall, you're not going to see daffodils and tulips and all that kind of stuff.
I think Liz wants to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying thank you, Bonnie, because I can't tell you how many brushes and shrubs and stuff I've actually had to dig out of my own family's plots.
Yeah.
And they are a disaster to put in.
Not great taking them out either.
Right,
Somebody's always going to be unhappy. We cannot win.
right. Well, maybe we could go with bulbs then or something like that.
We can certainly do bulbs.
Yeah, yeah.
And if
Any
we sell them out, we can dig the bulbs up and put them somewhere else.
There you go. Do you have any thoughts, David?
Yeah, I just want to remind you that Tim Callis, who's part of the Wellfleet Arbor Committee, is going to meet us up there on cleanup day anyway to talk about the Arbor Committee donating some trees. And we were going to identify some places that when his business slows down in the fall, we might want to plant some. So we could engage him in that same conversation about, gee, what if we wanted to develop this model plot? Could the Arbor Committee be involved? Would they be interested in being involved in that?
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not going to mention names, but don't forget, I recently showed a plot to a person who owns a landscaping company, and she's going to make her final commitment in May. And at that time, I'm sure she's going to be doing something in her 10 by 10, Bonnie. So, I'm sure we'll get one. We'll get a model plot anyway from
That
that
helps
sale.
to us.
Yeah,
That's good too.
and it's right in the middle of that new section.
Good.
Okay, that's all I have for that.
Okay. Okay, next agenda item, our FY21 CPC Award is $10,000. And as I think you guys are aware, we've basically been informed by at least the current CPC committee that, no further funding will be forthcoming. So don't even bother to apply again. They thought, I guess their consensus was that we should seek to get our own budget within the town.
Right.
So, thinking that over, and then, right now we're in the middle of finalizing our budgets for FY22 and also the town meeting warrant. There's a lot of cutting going on, and I really don't see the creation of a budget for the cemetery. They're looking to cut, they're not looking to add.
Yes, of course.
So right now, we have just what we sell. So that's going to severely limit really what we can do. So, so how do we want to spend this $10,000 that we have? You guys thought?
I have a couple thoughts, but just to back up on that, I just want to remind you, I think I said this to you all, but maybe I didn't, that Gary Sorkin, who may be the head of the Wellfleet, I'm not sure whether it's the Wellfleet Committee for the CPC, approached Dan Hort before Dan left, and as part of that, encouraging us to get our own line item in the budget, he approached Dan and said, and really said he thought it would be appropriate if we did have our own budget. So at least Dan Hort heard that. I don't know if that got passed on to Maria. Probably not, but in any case.
I guess it's worth discussing and broaching the idea with the town administrator. I think from just some spot checking around, I was doing research about maybe a year and a half ago about the percentages that other cemeteries put into perpetual care, because as you know, we have, quite a lot of money in perpetual care. I think it's something around $200,000, but we're only allowed to spend the interest that generates, which is like $300 a year. So I was looking to see what other people contribute, 75, 25, 50, 50, because I believe those people are also constrained to just using the interest.
Yeah, wasn't that established by the state?
I've had a hard time reading the chapters that deal with cemeteries in the Mass General laws. I kind of couldn't tell.
Right.
It's kind of vague, but
Nancy?
Yeah.
Do you want us to have a conversation right now about how to spend the 10,000 or how to generate more money in the future? I'm not sure what you want.
Right. I got sidetracked in my own mind. And so when I was doing that research, I found that it seemed like most, at least of the towns that I checked, most of the cemeteries were under the DPW, because the DPW, for most cemeteries, they do the excavations, they do the openings, and the maintenance and all that. But anyway, so I can, now is not a very good time to bring anything up about money,
No.
to TA, but we can work on that down the line. But yeah, I guess let's talk about the 10 that we have sitting there right now.
Well, I don't see where there's anything that we would want to use it for, that we can use it for.
Well-
We've got things like filling holes in the road and shells, but that's
Right.
not really what it's intended for.
No, it's intended for restoration,
Right.
and 10's not going to get us very far. So we had discussed just trying to, well, we did identify quite a few, and I think David's got it all written down. Trying to write some stones that are in danger of falling.
Right.
I think that's a worthy effort, but $10,000, that could be, 10 stones for all we know. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you think we should just give the money back?
Well, the two cemeteries, Oakdale and Pleasant Hill, are the only cemeteries now that don't have a signed storyboard, like I
Yeah.
had made for Boudreaux and Taylor and Duck Creek. And so we could potentially do that. A little history about the difference between Oakdale and Pleasant Hill. And
That would be nice. Or even 2 signs, one on Oakdale, one on Pleasant Hill. That would be nice. And that was in our CPC application signage,
Right.
part of that.
right. Well, why don't I work on that and then bring it to the next meeting, the wording, and see what you two think about it.
Okay.
I'd still like to see about stabilizing headstones that are in good shape, that either are in danger of falling or have fallen, but they're intact. And we can, maybe we'll talk to some consultants. And I know, for instance, Donna Rickman has some people in her world who might have some ideas about it, how to upright them or stabilize them, and get some other people's opinions on how to do that.
That's a good idea. And we could get recommendations from some of the other Cape towns.
Is it okay to raise my hand?
Go ahead.
Okay, Tamara Condi And other of these conservators do workshops for only like $1,000 where they train people, and that's part of it. Like resetting and cleaning.
And do they have like an online class, or it's a in-person thing?
It's on site in person.
Okay, that's something to think about, I think.
Nancy?
Yeah,
Can I ask Donna a question?
sure.
Yeah, so Donna, when you say that the consultants would come and work on site, are the people there looking to attend this kind of workshop? Are they cemetery commissioners who wouldn't necessarily be doing the actual work, but would be finding other people to do it? Or are they looking actually for people who would come to these workshops because they're the ones that potentially would be doing the work themselves?
I think it could be all of the above.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't give the workshops that they do, so you would have to ask those people. I think it's a lot of people who just have an interest in cemeteries. The general public.
$1,000 is a lot of money.
Mm.
Is it like
But if you-
$1,000 per person or per like training?
Per training session.
Oh,
But it's if you have like 8 people
right.
coming out,
Yeah, that's hardly anything at all.
yeah, it's really money well spent.
Right. No, that's a good idea.
And they train you on what proper methods and best practices for cleaning and resetting.
I see Liz hand.
Another company that has done work on Cape Cod before from here in Connecticut is called Atlas Preservation. And they are actually working on a 48 state, they're going all around the country doing these workshops too. So there's another source to contact to see about doing workshops.
They did that last summer and were very successful.
They're doing it again this year too.
Yep.
Do you know offhand, Liz? Are there any Cape towns that are scheduled to have Atlas?
I don't know. I will try contacting them and see if they can give me some kind of an idea if anything is going on the Cape this year.
Okay, great. I did get a,
Did you get this, David?
Did I get the names? Yeah, I got Atlas Preservation. And Donna, what's the woman's name that came out before?
Tamara Condi.
Can you spell that?
TAMARA
Yeah, all right, yeah,
Condi, CONDE.
perfect, thank you. That's what you're referring to, Bonnie, right?
I just want to make sure you were getting this all.
Got
You
it.
look like you're writing feverishly, so.
I am.
I did get a semi-complaint from one of the 2 owners of the 2 houses that there are at the front of Pleasant Hill about the fencing there. That it's rusted, and I think there's some that's dented. And I believe John Fougere did the fencing the last time for us in Duck Creek. So I don't know what the sentiment is about fixing those. It's the pipes in between the granite that's deteriorating.
I know we have done that, fixing fencing at our property on Bank Street, and it's real heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Because to get the pipe in properly, you need to raise the upright part, which is granite, and work it in so that when you put it back down, it's tight in there. And that's a lot of work.
Are you talking about the boundary between the cemetery and that Cemetery Road? The
Yes,
The southern boundary? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
now, of course, we could always look into alternative fencing like the others, what do you call that? That we've done on the corners, but we have
Split rail.
split rail. But we do have, pre-existing granite and it's, it's lovely.
Yes,
I wouldn't want to discontinue that, but I guess that's something we can go and look at. And,
and this lasts longer.
oh yeah, should last forever. But if you got to raise the granite up and all that, but we can take a look at it and see. I don't think it's maybe, well, I think there's double rails.
Yes.
Um,
Did
so
John,
maybe two sections.
has John done it in the past for us?
He did it at Duck Creek, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So maybe we could have him take a look at it.
Yeah.
Give us a price.
Yep, next time he's out there. Okay, so any more thoughts on the CPC grant? Well, we'll get some prices on signs. I know signs can be quite expensive, but let's do that first and we'll, go from there, see what we have left.
Okay.
David, any other thoughts?
I'm thinking here. No, nope, I'm good.
Okay. I did talk to Peter Williams of the DPW in, I don't know if it was last spring or the fall, about, grading out, especially that the main drag in there, Central Ave, is pretty bad. Grading and filling, but the only problem with grading is that, you're scraping up all the existing shells. And he said shells were in terribly short supply because of the pandemic and restaurants being closed. People weren't selling the shellfish that we get the shells from. So I don't know. I guess we need to put, I don't know what you call it, filler in a number of potholes. So I can contact him and ask him if he's willing to do that.
What about gravel? Would you
Gravel's
give it
good,
some sort of foundation to,
like hardener or something like that, and then fill it with gravel.
yeah, just because it's a little more permanent than shells.
Sure. We should
which
look
we
into
can't
that.
put anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the DPW got the shells for free or if they had to buy them.
I don't know either.
Gravel will certainly cost, but I can approach him again, and maybe at our cleanup, he usually comes to that. We could walk around and get his thoughts on that and see what the DPW is willing to do for us.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, at the risk of violating the open meeting law or the agenda rules, Helen Miranda Wilson has asked us to weigh in on the proposed dog bylaw. Well, animal control bylaw, I guess. And so I just sent these off to you guys at 12:30. I really haven't had a chance to read through them, but I did talk to the animal control officer this morning, and then Helen called me right after that. So, I mean, I don't really know, and they want a recommendation for the town meeting warrant.
How soon?
David, you talked to Helen, right? And it was like
Right, she
real
said,
soon.
it is real soon. I think that the select board deadline for written material going to the printers is April 27th. And I don't remember whether she said she would like to get a recommendation from us by the 27th or the 25th. Of course, we always have the option to just make the recommendation, yes, no, or no comment at town meeting. But Helen was really anxious that since we're cited specifically in the current animal control bylaw about leashes, she was anxious for us to weigh in on it.
So the gist I got from Desmond, the animal control officer, was the main gist of the change in the bylaw is to require scooping poop and make it a finable offense. And also barking dogs, dogs that bark incessantly when their owners aren't home. And I guess there was discussion around allowing dogs, as long as they are leashed and scooped, in the cemeteries, because often an owner will want to bring their dog with them to go visit the site, you know, the grave site of a loved one.
People do that now.
Right,
Even though we don't allow dogs, if we don't have any means of policing it. So they are already in there with their dogs.
right. And then Helen, repeated the same thing. And she thought, as an animal lover, I mean, the cemeteries are a wonderful place to walk your dog, or maybe you want to go jogging with your dog, something like that. It's a, pastoral setting. But just more visible, because it's like a defined space as opposed to, the back roads or, something like that.
I can see that, but people are already disrespectful. So I'm just not convinced that saying, yes, you can bring your dog, but it has to remain on a leash.
Right, and I don't know if a town bylaw trumps the regulations that the cemetery commission crafts. I think probably it would. If it's
Nancy?
a town bylaw, yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
finish your thought.
And my issue really is people will scoop if you give them a means to be able to. They'll obey the law if you make it so that they can obey the law. Now, my problem is you've got to have a place for people to dump their poop bags. I mean, some people might ride around them in their car and dump it at home, or they might find a barrel someplace else. But I do know that, you really do need to provide a place for people to dispose of waste. And there did used to be, my recollection is, 2 barrels at the cemetery. One was under the little pavilion, and another one was over on, I think it's West or Grove, right at the corner there where the well used to be, the pump. And then I believe it was when purple bags came in and people started dumping household trash in those cemetery barrels. And God knows how long, it stays in there, and then animals and blah, blah, blah. And just another route that the DPW had to go through. So they took the barrels out. And then we did have, an issue with one of the gentleman that owns the house on Cemetery. He has private trash pickup, and people were going through the cemetery last year and dumping their trash in his cans. So, I mean, that's just a people being people thing. But so I don't think I'm ready to make a recommendation on this bylaw, and I hope we're not violating the rules by even talking.
So I have a couple thoughts. One, I was going to say, so are we having a conversation right now about it? And it seems like we are, but I would recommend that we schedule another meeting to just address this in a timely manner to meet the deadline that the select board has for making the recommendation as part of the town warrant packet. So, because I do have some strong opinions about it, but I don't know.
I think the meeting would be good.
Okay.
And I think if I can either ask Helen what the deadline is and get back to you, and then we can set up a meeting, or we could just say we're going to meet either before the end of this week or next week. Well, I guess not next week. When is the 25th? Does anyone know?
25th is Sunday.
Ah. Well, okay, so I guess I'm recommending that we have another meeting before the end of the day Friday.
Do we know if this is actually the final draft?
Actually, I haven't even had a chance to look at it, so I don't even, I don't know. What did Helen say when she sent it to you?
Well, that this was the most recent.
Ah.
The one that I think I saw in the select board packet a week ago Tuesday, that is not the draft that this is now. This is a further incarnation.
Shall I contact Helen Miranda Wilson and ask her both the deadline for submitting a recommendation and also, is this the final draft or what are they asking us to do? Do you want me to do that?
Yeah,
But why don't we set up a meeting anyway? We can always cancel it.
We
Right.
need 48 hours, right?
right. So are you guys available? I can post right now, or whatever, 2:30 on Friday? Is that too
Yes.
soon for you guys, or that's okay?
That's fine.
Fine with me.
Okay. And, wait a minute, there's something else in my notes. Is there anything else you guys want me to put on the agenda?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll tell you what it is and we can decide whether we want to just do the animal control bylaw or not. We got that phone call from the person who is a granddaughter, whose grandmother and great aunt are buried in a plot in Pleasant Hill. And the mother has just recently died. And they discovered at the interment funeral in 1990 that the holes were dug in the wrong place and they didn't do anything about it. But now the second generation, not the person that's contacted us, but her mother, her dying wish was to be buried in a different place in the plot. And so do we need to have as an agenda item to discuss that and rule on that? Or can we do that outside of a meeting? That's my question.
I think we need to discuss it.
In a meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
because it could set a little precedent for the future.
that's major because you're talking about moving someone.
yeah. And she may decide it's not worth the money, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. So I tell you what, as far as I know, well, I do know that the most recent death is now a cremain. So there's no pressing issue in terms of the body. So let's not have this be on this agenda item, on this agenda for Friday.
If it's just cremains, why do we have to be juggling things around? They could just put it in the ground.
I'll tell you at the
Okay.
next meeting. So we'll wait for that for the next official meeting.
Friday.
No. Let's wait to the next time. Let's just do the animal control thing on Friday. Because I think that's going to be a long conversation. I think.
Yeah.
Moving the body or the dog?
No, the dogs. So I'll put the moving the body on a future agenda. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Nancy.
okay. Does any other, well, we're not allowed to talk about anything else. Do any members of the audience want to say anything? Go ahead, Donna.
Unmute myself here. I don't do a lot of these Zoom meetings, so I had a question about the CPC money from I guess it's fiscal year 21. And you kind of briefly talked about that before, and I was just wondering if you've considered using any of that to assess the past repairs that were done in the restoration project. Thank you.
I have a thought, Nancy.
Go ahead.
Donna, what's your idea? What are you thinking about?
Well, just to make sure that they're good and solid and done properly.
So we would hire a consultant. We would pay a consultant to come in and do that and make a report.
I don't know if they would charge you, or I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know how they bill.
okay, thank you.
I would think if we do that, I think we would probably have to use our money from the sale of plots rather than the new CPC award. I don't know if we would need to ask the committee if that would be an approved use or not. It seems to me like it would be better that we use our sale of plots money. I don't know.
Yes, because it's not included in any of our proposals that we've handed in.
Right. Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
I don't know whether, is this a place where we can make suggestions for agenda items for a future meeting? Are we there yet?
I mean, you can, or we can do Friday or any time really. What else have you got?
I was just gonna, and again, I'm doing this also as a clerk. Future agenda items are revisiting green burials, revisiting use of CPC $10,000, revisiting finding other sources of money for the maintenance of the cemetery, including, and I'm saying this out loud again for Liz and Donna too, the creation of a Friends of the Wealthy Cemetery, because we do have people who've offered to make donations, but they'll only do it if we have a nonprofit arm. And we know that there are lots of different town boards and committees that have a Friends of attached to it. That's whether it's a 501c3 or whatever, they have nonprofit status. And then that's an opportunity to get some more funding. And right now we the cemetery commissioners don't have the time to do that, but we're looking for people to start that up. That would be great. So I'd like to see that as an agenda item too.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah, I'm down as Jennifer. I apologize. I have a deep Jennifer voice.
You do.
I had some questions. And this is my first meeting that I'm attending, and I want to circle back to the CPC question. I didn't know that you were going to address each one. I'm going based upon your agenda here, so I didn't know if you traditionally ask is there any public input and so forth. That's why I myself, Jennifer, has been holding off. But going back to the CPC award,
sir.
however that money is awarded, what procurement policy are you guys? Yes.
Sir, you are not recognized to speak at this meeting. Please mute yourself. We know who you are, and you are not getting recognized. Motion to adjourn?
I so move.
All right. Meeting adjourned, and I will go post with the town clerk. And I'll see you guys on Friday at 2:30.
2:30, yeah. And this time I'll know how to get on.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for attending, everybody, Liz and Donna. And Bob, Robert Comerford, thank you.